We have learned that Brent Venables is not going to wait for you to figure out. Not very long. And it's one of the things that I really love about him. Once it seems that it is not going well and you are not figuring it out, he's going to make a change. This was a criticism that I had of Lincoln Riley, particularly with his defensive coordinator at Oklahoma and even at USC. It just took too long for him to make what looked like an inevitable decision. I mean, we got to borrow the Henry Kissinger bit here when we say if it feels like you're going to have to make that decision eventually, you need to make that decision immediately. And that's what he did when he gave Jackson Arnold the hook for Michael Hawkins Jr. in the second half, and immediately things got better for Oklahoma's offense. From that moment on, what you're looking for are really fundamentals that Brent Venables addressed in his coach's weekly press conference, coach's show, where he announced that, yes, Michael Hawkins Jr. was going to be the starter against Auburn, and really that's the only decision that there was to make, and it wasn't that much to look ahead and go, oh yeah, Nine's going to be the guy if Oklahoma's going to have an opportunity to win this season. And the reason that he gave that job is because Michael Hawkins Jr. earned it. He said, looking at Jackson versus Michael Hawkins, who's the most consistent? Who can execute the basics of our offense consistently? It's not real complicated. And then you've got to get in the game and you've got to perform too. All that is right in line with what we saw from Michael Hawkins Jr. Two things. He did not throw the football to the other team. He did not put the football on the ground. Those two things alone make him a better quarterback than Jackson Arnold. That is what it takes. And I'm going to stress this point because I believe in this era of football where people are much more comfortable running the ball and not needing to score a bunch, where they are really focusing on what their defenses can do and trying to play complementary football. There's even more of an emphasis on quarterbacks that take care of the ball. We'll look at Heisman Trophy caliber quarterbacks and we'll get caught up in they'll throw for 4,000 yards. They'll throw for 40 touchdowns. What I often want people to look at is look at that interception number over there. When Joe Burrow won the Heisman Trophy in 2019, he threw 60 touchdown passes. He threw for damn near 5,000 yards. He also only threw 6 interceptions, okay? Talk about Bo Nix and what he did last year to earn himself Heisman consideration. 40-plus TDs, 4 picks. We can keep going on the line on this. The two things measure up. You don't throw the ball away, and you don't put the ball on the floor. Then, do you eat the ball, or do you get rid of the ball? Now, there's one thing about taking sacks that we don't really discuss as much as we probably should, which is how much of this is on the offensive line and how much of this is on Jackson Arnold or anybody else holding the football for too long. For instance, a criticism of Shedeur Sanders at Colorado is that he holds the ball for too long and that the offensive line only needs to block for 2 seconds, and then it's up to him to be his own blocker. What we have learned about Shedeur, though, is that he will run around until such time as he thinks he can make a play. And if that means he's going to get destroyed every now and again, he's willing to do that. The difference between a player like Shedeur today and Jackson Arnold today is one of those guys gets spooked and throws the ball to the other team, or feels like he just wants to tuck and run rather than run around and try to find somebody open. And it just never felt like this offense was one in which he felt comfortable operating, which is really an indictment of the offense play caller. He went for 361 and a couple TDs against Arizona. He also threw 2 picks that I was like, what are you looking at, son? And he hasn't thrown for 200 yards in a game, and that's a stat that people are really pointing to now. But I was pointing to that against Temple. You got to light Temple up. You got to light Tulane up. You got to light Houston up if you're the quarterback at Oklahoma. And if you aren't going to do those things, you certainly can't eat the ball, and you certainly can't throw the ball to the other team. You can't put the ball on the floor. These are things that he was prone to do. I think if Michael Hawkins Jr. can go and lead Oklahoma against an Auburn team that's admittedly down, right, and hasn't beaten a Power 5 team, Power 4 team with a winning record since 2021, he ought to go down there and win. Now, what is that going to say for Hugh Freeze? Nothing good, I promise you. But if he takes care of the football and he slows down a little bit, it's going to be fine for him. I really love this quote that Brent Venables gave about what he expects from his team and what he expects from Hawkins. The biggest thing for me is just trying to stay relaxed. I have our guys around me building me up and just knowing they're behind me. So, that's Hawkins saying the biggest thing for me is I just need to try to stay relaxed. I have all our guys around me building me up and just knowing they're behind me. So when I get in, we can just move the ball and capitalize on big plays. It's a dude that was ready for his number to be called. And when it was called, the moment was not too big for him. And against an opponent like Tennessee that expects to contend for the SEC championship and could be that 6, 7, 8 seed, maybe 5 seed into the college football playoff, that's a really great place to start if you're Michael Hawkins Jr. because it's not going to get bigger than that. It's not going to get bigger than Saturday night at Owen Field, 88,000 people against that pass rush, against that team in Oklahoma's first ever conference game in the SEC with more to come. I thought this is the Venables quote. I got this one right. What he said about Michael Hawkins Jr. was important. He's confident. He's loose in the right ways. The moment's not going to overwhelm him, even though, again, he's a young guy. Mike gets excited. You saw him. He's 3 or 4 steps ahead of the play a few times. That's going to happen too. Certainly going to slow things down and let things develop. There's that piece of it. But he's a great competitor and a tremendous amount of talent, has a tremendous amount of talent, and he cares. I think the part that Oklahoma fans are going to really zero in on is he cares. And because he cares, you're going to win the hearts and minds of Oklahoma fans. This is not a program where you can lollygag. This is not a program where you can play scared. This is not a program where you're going to get time to figure it out. That's not who Oklahoma is. That's not who Oklahoma is ever going to be. We expect you to hit the ground running because there's only one Oklahoma. And in this all-important first season for OU in the SEC, one of the things that OU wanted to demonstrate in the best conference in college football is that it's one of the best teams in college football, and it deserves your recognition. What has transpired, though, is Texas has been able to do that. Texas, who goes to Michigan, beats up Michigan, a Michigan team we're not sure anymore is bad, but we're not sure they're great. We know that they're good. They were able to run the football against a really great USC team and get a W at Ann Arbor. Same place where Texas didn't feel the least bit hurried or rushed and was able to get a double-digit win. Now, you're looking at a Texas team that has its heir apparent in Arch Manning, who plays the position the way that we expected Jackson Arnold to play the position. I also understand if you trade him out, right, you give that offensive line at Texas, which is great, to Jackson Arnold, do you get different returns? Maybe, right? If you give him the skill players that are healthy on the outside, the same measure of returns. Maybe. I will also offer that Oklahoma's running back room is much healthier than Texas's running back room, and it didn't stop Jaden Blue from going for 124 against ULM. We still haven't seen an outbreak of outstanding rushing from that running back room. But RJ, that's all about the offensive line. Again, when you are playing quarterback at Oklahoma and you know that your offensive line can only do so much, you have to make up for what they can't do, which means that a mobile quarterback with his kind of speed, Jackson Arnold, should be able to run away from folks and or throw the ball away. Are you going to put up the kind of numbers that Arch is going to put up? Probably not. But you know what you can do? Take care of the football. And that's what Michael Hawkins Jr. was doing. What was striking for me, though, is there really isn't that much difference between the National Gatorade Player of the Year, the 5-star quarterback in Jackson Arnold, and his skill set, and Michael Hawkins Jr. and what he was offering. He's got a live arm. He can move outside the pocket. The thing that he offered, though, in addition to taking care of the ball, is he cares. As Brent Venables said, that's the thing that we're all going to focus on. He is going to sell out to try to go get you a first down, to try to go get you a touchdown. And we saw that when the game fell out of reach for Oklahoma. Hawkins is still out there just trying to make it happen. And I think that also underscores just what it means for him to play quarterback at Oklahoma, knowing that his father played for Bob Stoops and played in the league at 41 years old. He is a relatively young man getting to still watch his boy start, I tell you, at quarterback for Oklahoma. And he gets an opportunity to go play against Auburn on the road at Auburn and get OU its first ever road win in this conference. I'm enthusiastic about this, and I think I will continue to be enthusiastic about this. I have really high hopes for what this can be. However, I am curious to find out what happens with Jackson Arnold come December, and more importantly, whether or not Michael Hawkins Jr. makes Seth Luttrell look better, because frankly, the play calling, the scheme, ain't what we expected to be either. And it feels like everything is out of sync and out of whack. Maybe if Mike can run the offense the way that Seth Luttrell envisions it, we get this right. But even so, this is not a great look for Seth Luttrell, who had really been tied to Jackson Arnold and Jackson Arnold's ability to perform in 2024. However, if it don't get well, rest assured, Brent Venables has already shown, you'll get this year, and then I'll go get Zach Alley.